Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salam alaikum, my secondary students. Today we're going to have the Travel 3 new lesson, which is a listening, speaking, and writing. And let's get started with what we'll learn today. And we have, as you can see, 3 objectives. Number 1, practice listening for specific information and choosing the picture which best answer the question. Number 2, practice speculating and reaching a decision. And number 3, identify the content and paragraph organization of informal letter giving news. So for number 1, we're going to listen to some information and choose the picture that answer the question. So I will play for you 5 conversations. Every conversation, it has a question, and the answer is 3 pictures. You have to choose one, but pay great attention to the question. I suppose you may get your headphones ready until we reach the listening part. And number 2, we're going to practice speculating and reaching out a decision. So we're going to talk about how we speak about making a decision. And finally, we're going to talk about how we write an informal letter, okay, telling some news about us or for others. So let's get started with number 1. In your opinion, what is important when choosing a career? So a career, which is you now are second secondary and third secondary students. You must have decided about your future job and what would you like to be in the future. So whatever your career is, it should have some kind of good education. You need to have a vision. You know where you're going and what you're going to do and what you become. And also you need to set the goals and have some values and some interest, which is linked to what you like. And most of the good advice is, if you want to choose a job in the future, make your jobs something you like as a hobby and then develop it into a profession. And finally, whatever your job is or is going to be, you need some skills like some good English, some interpersonal skills, also some maybe computer skills. So for your vision, you need to know where you're going. You need some good education, whether you want to be a lawyer, teacher, manager, engineer. And your goals, maybe you want to continue after your college, and your goal is to go to this country and study this. And maybe after finishing the college, you may apply for a diploma or a master's degree. And for the values, we're all Muslims, and we know that in our religion, in the Holy Quran, there are too many verses tell us that God, and His Prophet Muhammad SAW always watches, and our values is to be always sincere, faithful, and hardworking. Now I'm going to play for you this listening, and before we start to get our headphones and headset ready, you will hear 5 short conversations. All right, 5. I'm not gonna stop. You will listen to the 5, and then we come back to answer. For each question from 1 to 5, choose the picture which answers the question correctly. So we will have A, B, C, 3 pictures. 1 picture expresses or answers the question. Be careful to the question. Now, as I think you have had your headphones ready like these and ready to listen to the conversation, and before we do, here are some advice and tips. 1, before you start listening, look at the 3 pictures carefully to get a general idea of what you're going to hear. So take a look at the pictures or the answers. 2, listen carefully to the dialogue or to the conversation and focus on the question. Many students forget about the question. Focus on the question. All 3 pictures may be referred to in the dialogue, but however, only 1 picture correctly answers the question. So before we talk about the listening, I'm reminding you to have your headset ready, and you will hear the conversation. You will hear 5 conversations. I'm not gonna stop. Pay attention to the pictures and pay attention to the question. Okay? So when you listen, we will decide later and we will answer 5 conversations in a row. Are you ready? All right. I'll try to play this for you now. Okay? Let's go. Now, before we answer this question, I want you to remember that this listening is not playing. Let me try something for you here, which is here. Oh, you didn't see the answer. Okay.
3A. Listening and speaking. Listening. Listening and speaking. Listening. You will hear 5 short conversations. For questions 1 to 5, choose the picture which answers the question correctly. 1. What have they got plenty of?
I think we should order some office supplies. We definitely need some paper.
Yes, you're right. And we also need some envelopes.
Do we need any pens?
No, we've got 2 boxes full of those.
2. What time did the man want to wake up?
What happened to you this morning? You were supposed to be here at 9.
I know. I thought I set my alarm for 7 a.m, but when I woke up it was 8.
But how come it took you so long to get to work?
There was an accident on the road. I was stuck in traffic for nearly 2 hours.
3. What does the man tell his wife to make? I think I'm going to have a selection of desserts to choose from tonight. A cake?
A cake is fine, but make sure you have some ice cream too, because you know that's what I like best.
Don't worry, I'm making ice cream sundaes.
What else are you making?
Well, I thought I'd include something light, like fruit.
Good idea.
4. What is the man's hobby?
Wow, that's a beautiful painting. Did you paint that yourself?
No, my brother did. I'm more into photography. I especially like taking pictures of gardens and flowers.
5. What activity do both people like?
I think we should do something active this weekend.
What do you suggest?
Well, I have a few ideas. We could go hiking in the mountains.
Sounds interesting. Or we could go fishing at the lake.
I'm not that keen on fishing. I have another idea. Do you remember that riding school we saw when we were driving back from the park yesterday? Why don't we go and have a riding lesson?
I think hiking in the mountains sounds better.
So, as you have heard, let's answer these questions one by one. So, the question which I always tell you to pay attention to, what have they got plenty of? It means too many of, too much of. Was it too many envelopes, papers, or pens? You remember in the conversation, he said he or they have 2 boxes of them. It means they have too many pens. So therefore, the best answer for number 1 is C. You got it right. And number 2, you remember what time did the man want to wake up? Was it 9, 8, or 7? It was right. It was 7 because B and C are not heard in a conversation. So therefore, A is the best answer for number 2. And for number 3, what does the man tell his wife to make? She talked a little bit about C, which is the fruit, and then the cake. But she really was interested in, you got it right, in A, which is the ice cream. And 4, what does what is the man's hobby? He talked about the painting. This is a farmer, but the man was too much into photography, so he is a photographer. So therefore, C is the best answer for 4. And finally, number 5, what activity do both people like? Did they talk both about fishing or horse riding or hiking? Well, they both suggested too many things, but they both agreed on hiking, and therefore A is the best answer for 5. Now let's go for more speaking, and we talked in a second objective about using some useful expressions when we talk about reaching up or speculating for a decision. So if you want to decide anything, you have to give your opinion about it. So you can start using some words like, in my opinion, I think it would be a good idea because, or you can say some young people may find it difficult because this would be useful for the young people or for good people because it will provide young people with an opportunity too. I don't think many young people would be interested in because. See, when you express your opinion, you use a lot of examples and always defend your opinion by giving examples. Support your opinion by giving examples. You have to say because. Let's say, in my opinion, students should not play football on the streets. Okay, I need to support this because now you start to support, and give examples. It is too dangerous to play on the streets. Okay, it's not the good place to play on the streets because you may get a car accident, you may fall there, maybe some iron pieces, glass pieces which can injure you. It's not also healthy and a good way to play on a street football because you may hit with a ball some car mirror and you broke it. You may broke some lamps of the street. You may break a window for your neighbors, and also maybe some of your neighbors are sick or old or sleep, so you may cause them some kind of disturbance and they may don't like you for this. See, I gave my opinion and I can say the advantages and disadvantages and I say why. Okay, so if you want to play football, you can go to the right place where you can play football as many hours as you like. Now let's continue with speaking, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine that your local council is building a new youth center in your area. A committee is deciding what activities and facilities the center should offer. The pictures below show the suggestions that are being considered. So remember, in your neighborhood there are no playgrounds, so some people or some men from your or officials from the neighborhood gather together to build a center or to make a place for young boys or young men where they can play some activities instead of doing this on the streets or going outside the city. So they decided to build this in your neighborhood. So try to go to them and imagine and tell them what you as a young man need. So I have seen when we go here to the parks, the government build or have built too many basketball places, football playgrounds, and all this stuff. So this is what most of the students like. Others they have table tennis and maybe internet cafe or some soft drinks cafe, toilets, and this is what you need for all the area there. So if we take these two examples here for the internet cafe or internet lab or computer lab, it has advantages and disadvantages. If you have a table tennis, also it has advantages and disadvantages. But the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each of these activities? Which two would appeal most to young people? Which is the most suitable, the most maybe useful for young people? We can start speaking about this when we use, maybe it's good to use some of these words: active, simulating, creative, keep fit, competitive, fun, socializing, strength, challenging, difficult, entertainment, boring, do research, and so on. So let me take an example of the internet lab here. Many students will like it, or many young men will like it, because they can use it, to simulate some job on the internet. Maybe it's competitive and fun, because some of you may use it for network games, and it's challenging and it's full of entertainment. And some of you can use it for research. You can do a project for your school on this lab. And as for the table tennis, it's active because you're moving and jumping all the time. It keeps you fit because this is considered a kind of sport. It's competitive, fun, and socializing. You can meet new people, challenge new people. So it's a challenging and entertaining, and it's never boring. So here are some examples of the advantages and disadvantages. So for the internet access, it's perfect opportunity for those with no internet access. If you don't have internet, that's a good place for you. And teenagers like you or young men like you can do research for their school projects. That's a very good idea. And the disadvantages, the equipment needs constant upgrading. It isolates rather than encourages socializing. So, all the time, every 2-3 years, you have to change your laptop, you have to change your desktop, because new parts are coming, new software are coming. So you have to keep upgrading and updating it. And also, you can't socialize because once you sit on your computer, you can't talk to others. The other thing is, for the table tennis, it's very entertaining. It does not require a lot of teaching hours. You can learn it in a few hours. It's good for the reflexes of the hand and the eye coordination together. They are improved because you have to keep your eye on the ball, and your hands will work automatically. And of course, it keeps you fit because in the end, it's a kind of sport. For the disadvantages of table tennis, it could be very competitive. So if there are only outdoors tables, people can only play when the weather is good. So if the weather is not good, you can't play this outside. If it's raining or snowing or it's dusty or windy, you must keep playing inside. Now finally, we'll talk about the writing. And today we will talk about writing an informal letter about giving some news. So when we start writing, we have 5 items or benchmarks to pay attention for. You can start your greeting. You can use an appropriate greeting like dear sir, hello, salam alaikum, it's been a while, what's up, how you doing? And then you start with the opening paragraph. You can use set of phrases to begin your letter and say why you're writing. I hope you're doing fine. It was nice to hear from you. You remember the last time, I'm writing for you because, and so on. Mainly the main part also, which includes 1 or 2 paragraphs. You can give your main news, what happened to you. You got engaged, you visited some good place, you're trying to check what happened with maybe a very famous football match, etc. And then you continue again with more about the news, with more details, and maybe you support them. And for the closing paragraph, you give reasons for ending your letter, why you end your letter. It's time to go, that's all. My mom is waiting for me, I got to go. Too many things, it's up to you. And then you can use set of phrases to end your letter like, well, that's all for now, waiting for your letter, looking forward to hear from you, and so on. And then you sign off, use your signature ending, yours, sincerely yours, faithfully yours, take a good care, stay in touch, etc. And write your first name below that and sign. That's it. So greeting, opening paragraph, main part, closing paragraph, and signing off. Of course, we have tips and reminders, maybe and advice for you before you write. So when you start writing an informal letter, you can use informal language. You can use short forms like didn't, doesn't, ain't, if you like. Exclamation like it was great. So you have this exclamation mark. And then you can use some direct questions. What are you up to? What's up? What you're doing? And finally, you can use some words or expressions like, well, of course, sure, anyway, actually, you see. Now, I'm going to give you some kind of an activity, and I imagine that you're in a classroom and your teacher asks you to write about a friend of yours has recently moved away to another city. So you had a friend and he moved maybe from Riyadh to Khubar, from Riyadh to Dammam, from Riyadh to Mecca. Okay? Now write a letter to him with all your news. Okay? Let's see a sample answer. I'm going to read for you, so please follow me. Dear Jabir, sorry for not getting in touch sooner, but I've been really busy sitting into my flat and getting used to my new job. I hope all of you back in Riyadh are okay. Dammam is a beautiful city and I've got a really nice flat with a lovely balcony. It is quite near my job too. You should come and visit me soon. There are lots of things to do here, and I'm sure we will have lots of fun. Why don't you try to come next weekend? I like my new job a lot. The school I teach at is in a nice modern building, and the rest of the staff are very friendly and helpful. But teaching is hard work. Believe me, I've been correcting essays all weekend and I still haven't finished them all. Okay, sorry for that. Well, that's all for now. I really must get back to my essays. Say hello to everyone for me and keep in touch. Okay? Take care, Ali. That was a letter from Ali about Jabir, asking him about the Dammam city, or telling him about the new thing. And he is a teacher actually, and telling him how teaching is a hard job, especially when, correcting your writing or your essays. All right. So what we have learned today is 3 things. We got tips for listening to remember before the listening. Okay, you take a look at the answers or the pictures and also listen carefully and pay attention to the question. And tips for speaking, we can use such vocabulary when we defend our opinion or when we try to speculate or reach a decision. We can use, in my opinion, I think that, or it would be better to, and always give examples and support your examples from your own experience. And finally, we just finished talking about writing an informal letter, a friend-to-friend letter, or maybe email, if you like, because people now don't use letters too much. So you start with 5 main items. You start with the greeting, the opening paragraph, the main part, which is 2 paragraphs mainly. You close the paragraph and sign off with your name. There are too many, like 12 references and resources for you. You can use them if you like for more, activity and practice. And finally, for more information and lessons, you can visit us on, IEN website, which is ien.edu.com. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can ask us for any technical support on our 24/7 number here. Thank you all for watching this, and I hope to see you again, maybe live, so we can answer your questions if you like. Until then, have a nice, good day, and Assalamu alaikum.